Have you ever felt your heart heavy after a fight with someone you love? Have you tried to fix a broken relationship only to find that no words seemed enough? Now tell me, what if I told you there's a silent weapon, forgotten by many, that carries a healing power beyond human logic? No, it's not a self-help tip, nor an emotional shortcut. It's something much deeper. It's the Rosary. You might be asking, how can a set of beads with repeated prayers heal something as complex as a broken relationship? But the Rosary isn't just a necklace with a cross. It's a bridge. Yes, a bridge between your soul and the heart of God. A bridge between wounded pride and forgiveness. A bridge between pain and healing. And before you close this video thinking it's just another religious message, listen closely to what I'm about to say. There are wounds no psychologist can reach. There are scars time doesn't erase. But there's a place where all of that is treated with divine tenderness, the deep silence of true prayer. The Rosary carries centuries of history. It was born as a way for the simplest among us to connect with the mysteries of Jesus' life, through the eyes and heart of his mother. Each bead you touch, every Hail Mary you repeat, is like stitching together piece by piece a bond that was once broken. How many times have we failed to listen? How often do we speak without thinking, hurt those we love the most, or hold on to grudges for years? And when everything seems beyond repair, we forget that there's a whole heaven waiting for a cry for help. The Rosary doesn't demand eloquent words. It only asks for your presence, not rushed, not out of duty, but as someone who sits at the feet of the Mother and says, "Help me, I don't know what else to do." When you pray the Rosary, you enter a rhythm of meditation that goes beyond logic. You repeat and repeat the prayers, not out of vanity or superstition, but because your mind needs to silence the noise of the world to hear God's voice. And in that silence, he begins to work. That resentment you've been carrying, that person you love but no longer know how to approach, that marriage that seems to be falling apart. None of that is greater than the power of a prayer made in love. Mary's intercession has transformed lives since her first yes, and she continues doing it today, even right now as you listen. She never ignores a sincere plea. She brings it straight to the heart of her Son, and he, Jesus, the Prince of Peace, he specializes in restoring what the world says is lost, but you must take the first step. Breathe deeply with me. Now picture the person you need to forgive. That difficult conversation that never happened. That love that turned into silence. Yes, now you understand why this video found you. It was no coincidence. The Rosary is an invitation to enter a space where ego falls silent and love begins to speak. And as you go through each mystery, from joy to sorrow, from light to glory, the Holy Spirit works deep within your soul, and more than changing others. The Rosary starts by changing you. Now that you understand the spiritual power the Rosary carries, let's get practical. Because praying is beautiful, yes, but praying with intention, purpose, and direction turns the invisible into reality. If you truly desire to restore a relationship, whether it's with your spouse, your parent, a child, a friend, or even with yourself. Here are concrete steps to begin walking this path of healing using the Rosary. First, find a place of peace. It doesn't have to be a church or sacred sanctuary. It could be a corner of your bedroom, a park bench, or even the quiet of your car. What matters is that it's a space where you can withdraw in sincerity. Second, bring a clear intention into your heart. Before you begin, think of the person at the center of your pain. Don't dwell on the wounds. Think about their soul. You're not here to blame, you're here to bless. As you begin the Rosary, offer each mystery for something specific. For example, the joyful mysteries. Pray for the restoration of joy in the relationship. The sorrowful mysteries, surrender the wounds that were inflicted. The glorious mysteries, ask for the resurrection of love and unity. The luminous mysteries, plead for light in difficult conversations and mutual understanding. Each bead you touch becomes a drop of balm in the spiritual realm. And even if you don't see immediate changes, something has already begun to shift in heaven, because when you pray with faith, God leans in, and when you pray with love, He acts. Now let me tell you something that may warm your hope. A mother prayed the Rosary every day for her son, who had cut off contact with her for over 5 years. She didn't know where he was or if he was even safe. But every night before sleeping, she held her Rosary and said, "Mary, you who are a mother, you know how I feel. Please take care of him." 5 years later, he returned, with tears in his eyes and a repentant heart. And you know what he said? "Mom, I don't know why, but one day I just woke up with this urge to come back. Something pushed me here." That something has a name. It's prayer. It's intercession. It's love transformed into faith. And there are other testimonies, too. Couples who were on the brink of divorce and decided to pray the Rosary together for 30 days before making their final decision. By the end of the journey, they were reconciled, not because the problems had disappeared, but because their hearts had been transformed. Because the Rosary doesn't just change the other person, it changes you. Patience grows, pride shrinks, empathy blossoms, and in that sacred space, forgiveness is born. You might be saying, "But I don't know how to pray the Rosary correctly." Don't worry. God doesn't listen for perfect words. He listens for a sincere soul. If all you can manage to say with love is, "Mary, lead the way," that's already enough to move heaven. Praying the Rosary is like building a staircase. With every step you climb, something is healed in you. And something is healed in the other as well. Now, may I ask you a favor? If this message touched your heart, if you've ever felt the power of prayer, share this video with someone who needs to hear it today. You may not know it, but you could be the answer to someone's silent prayer. And if you've had an experience with the Rosary that transformed a relationship in your life, please share it in the comments. Your story could be the spark of faith that reignites hope in another heart. Now that you've learned how to pray, who to pray for, and what to expect, it's time to look inward, because the Rosary doesn't begin with the other person. It begins with you. Do you want healing? Then allow Mary to lead you to Jesus. Do you want reconciliation? Then let him reconcile you with yourself first. So often we seek healing in others, hoping they will change, apologize, or acknowledge the pain they caused. But the greatest miracle of the Rosary is when it reveals that true freedom begins inside your own heart. Praying the Rosary is a process of surrender. It's when you stop fighting with your own strength and begin letting God fight for you. It's when you stop trying to forget your pain with time and instead let heaven transform it. How many times have you carried the weight of words that were never spoken, or worse, words that were said and pierced like knives? The Rosary doesn't erase the past, but it changes the way you see it. And when the way you view your wounds changes, what was once pain becomes testimony. What was once a burden becomes a bridge. Mary, with her motherly heart, understands the complexity of human emotion. She saw her son betrayed, denied, abandoned, and crucified, and yet she forgave, she stayed, she trusted. That is the example. That is the invitation. Can you imagine if everyone started praying for one another before arguing? If couples joined in the silence of the Rosary before speaking of separation? If siblings forgave one another between Hail Marys? How many families would be restored? How many children would return home? How many hearts would learn to love again? You might think this sounds idealistic, but everything divine begins as a seed. And today, by praying the Rosary, you are planting. The harvest will come in God's time, with God's fruit, and always for God's glory. So now I invite you, pick up your Rosary, even if it's dusty, even if you've never used it, even if it's broken, because God doesn't use perfect things. He uses willing hearts. Start with one mystery, then two, and maybe one day, the whole set of decades, and each day return to prayer, return to love, return to hope, and before you even realize it, that relationship that seemed lost will begin to bloom again. It might not be the way you imagined. It might not come with the words you expected, but it will come with the peace that surpasses all understanding. And if you've made it this far, know this. This isn't just a video. It's a calling. Jesus wants to heal not just your relationship. He wants to heal all of you, and the Rosary is the way. So if this message spoke to you, if you felt something stir in your soul today, comment below. I accept the healing. It's not just a comment, it's a declaration. And subscribe to the channel. Here you won't just find messages, you'll find encounters with heaven. Leave a like, ring the notification bell, and share this video with someone you love. You may be the answer to their prayer. I'll see you in the next video, and until then, pray, love, forgive, and trust.